This week was a very busy one for game news. GDC 2015 happened, and PAX East is just kicking off. Let's get started. Virtual reality was pretty hot during GDC 2015. There were a lot of demonstrations for various VR games across different VR platforms. Some of these were meant to showcase the abilities of virtual reality headsets and their hardware, while others were more meant to show off the capabilities of different engines, such as CryEngine. HTC and Valve announced a partnership for the sake of making virtual reality hardware. HTC is manufacturing the Vive, this Vive being their virtual reality headset that they're developing in conjunction with Valve. The Vive features a 1200 by 1080 pixel display for each eye with a refresh rate of 90 frames per second. In addition to the usual head-tracking hardware that we've come to know and love in virtual reality headsets, the gyrometer, accelerometer, etc., the Vive also employs a laser position sensor in order to track the position of one's head. In addition to the headsets, HTC is also going to be producing wireless VR controllers for the Vive. While the developer edition of the Vive will be going out this spring, we're not on track to see the consumer edition until the end of 2015. On the subject of virtual reality, Sony has shown off more of its Project Morpheus during GDC. In case you've not heard of Project Morpheus, it's Sony's take on a virtual reality headset for PlayStation 4. Morpheus is going to have a 5.7-inch screen with a 120Hz refresh rate. It's 1920 by 1080 pixels in resolution, and they're promising a low latency, one with less than 18 milliseconds. Sony has promised to show off more of Morpheus during E3, and right now they're saying that it's going to come out sometime around Q2 of 2016. Now, GDC 2015 was more than just virtual reality. Plenty of new hardware was unveiled, including Valve's Steam Link. Now, this Steam Link that Valve has unveiled is a $50 PC that's more of a set-top box. It's coming out in November of 2015, and it streams games from your PC to your television. Now, I think that Valve might have missed an opportunity to call it a stream engine, but this is fantastic if you have a good gaming PC and, like me, you'd like to stream your games from your office to your television. This is especially good for PC games that feature couch co-op, such as Battle Block Theater or Megabyte Punch. With the news of the Link also came the news of a few Steam machines. These Steam machines run Steam OS, a variant of Linux built by Valve specifically for gaming. Right now, Asus, Zotac, Origin, Alienware, and others have announced their own Steam machines running Steam OS. These range in price from about $500 to about $5,000. While a couple of the more expensive machines do seem like overkill, as you'll probably get maximum performance out of a mid-range Steam machine, if you don't own a particularly powerful gaming PC and you're in the market for a new machine, you might want to take a look at some of these Steam machines. There's already a large library of the games that'll run on them, but we'll get into that in a little while. Other hardware that Valve showed off at the show included the Steam controller. This controller is meant to be used with your stream machine. To be honest, it's not the prettiest controller I've ever seen. It looks better than the original Dreamcast controller, but it also looks less comfortable than the original Xbox Duke controller. That said, I've not had a chance to use the Steam controller, and I'm thus not really in a position to judge it.
Well, this is a very, very fast-growing segment. I believe that someday everybody is going to want a smart television experience.
Not one to be outdone, NVIDIA unveiled its own console, the Shield, as we're calling it. Again. Is NVIDIA Groot? Can it only say Shield? Well, whatever the case, this new Shield console that's not an awkward handheld device, or a tablet with a controller, is a home console. It's a small box meant to go beneath your television, and it boasts a Tegra chipset. These Tegra chips are used for more heavy-duty 3D lifting on Android devices. These chips create opportunity for more graphically complex games to come to Android. Right now, NVIDIA is trying very hard to nurture a software ecosystem on Android. In a market that's flooded with cheap Bejeweled clones and terrible free-to-play blech, NVIDIA really does seem to be trying to raise the bar. Of course, NVIDIA is also wise enough to hedge its bets. The NVIDIA Shield, that is, the Shield home console, also boasts game streaming capabilities. The Shield is currently on track to come out in May of 2015, and it's going for $199. While we're talking NVIDIA, they've announced a new graphics card as well. They're calling it the Titan X. Apparently, this Titan X packs in 12 gigabytes of VRAM. It comes with a whopping 8 billion transistors. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure what I would do with a dozen transistors, but 8 billion sounds like a lot. There hasn't been any information unveiled about pricing on this monstrosity, but expect it to cost you a pretty penny. For comparison, NVIDIA's Titan Z card goes for nearly $2,000 on Amazon. With that sort of money, you can skip playing Project Cars and just rent a race car and racetrack whenever you feel like it. For that sort of money, you don't have to play Alien Isolation. You can just hire a genetic engineer to create you a real, living, breathing alien. For that sort of money, okay, well, maybe it will be worth it, depending on what your applications are. Chances are, however, unless you're in a certain enthusiast market, you're probably not going to be taking advantage of a 12 gigabyte card anytime soon. Not one to be outdone, and especially not by NVIDIA, AMD quietly confirmed the existence of its R9 390X. Details are at current scant, however, according to reports, the R9 390X is what AMD was using during GDC to show off virtual reality demos. On the developer side of things, there was an absurd amount of good news for developers. To start with, Steam announced that it will be releasing Source 2. In case you've never played Source 1, wait, yes, you probably have. Half-Life 2, Counter-Strike, Team Fortress 2, Left 4 Dead, Portal 1 and 2, Dota 2, all of these run on Valve's Source engine. Interestingly enough, the Source 2 engine is going to be completely free for anybody to use. However, if you wish to sell a game that you make with the Source engine, your game needs to be on Steam. Of course, Source 2 wasn't the only engine announced during GDC 2015. Unity 5 was released. There's a personal and professional edition of Unity 5. The personal edition is totally free. With the personal edition, you can create a fully playable game. If you don't know anything about game development, there are a ton of great tutorials on how to use Unity. If you're looking to get into game development as a hobby, I strongly recommend taking a look at some of these. There is also a Unity Professional Edition for when you're ready to step your game up. As you might guess, it features a bunch more features that professionals will make use of. That said, if you're just starting out and you'd like to learn how to make games, get your hands on the Personal Edition. The most you stand to lose is a bit of hard drive space and a few hours of your time. There was yet another free game development suite released during GDC 2015. Unreal Engine 4 has been unveiled. Interestingly enough, UE4, as it's being affectionately called, is available to everybody for free, and all future updates of the engine will also be for free. Epic Games, the studio behind the Unreal Engine, has a very solid business model. After you ship a game with this free engine, they want a 5% royalty on gross revenue after the first $3,000 per product per quarter. With the Unreal Engine 4, there are no heavy startup costs. You'll avoid losing money on a project that isn't a massive success. But if your game does manage to make $3,000, you're not losing a very massive cut. What's interesting is that these engines are good for more than just games. There are also applications for animation, for virtual reality business presentations, and other practical simulations. If you're looking to develop games for the mobile market, you may also be pleased to know that the Corona SDK has also seen a free release this week. On the journey to GDC 2015, the train jam happened again. In spite of my phrasing, the train jam really isn't a terrible tragedy that involves trains being inextricably stuck. Rather, it's a 52-hour event during which developers will ride the train all the way to San Francisco to the Game Developers Conference. During this time, they will work on games on the train. Then, during GDC, these games have their own little exhibit. The games will soon be up to play at trainjam.com. For now, enjoy this picture of Sos Sosowski, developer of the absolutely absurd McPixel, hanging out at the Train Jam exhibit. While San Francisco had GDC, Right now, Boston is enjoying PAX East 2015. PAX East, or the Penny Arcade Expo, takes place every year at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. Unlike GDC, it's a more consumer-focused event. If you happen to see this video sometime in between PAX happening and you're attending PAX, there are a few games that I recommend you check out. The first is called SteamWorld Heist. It's the follow-up to the super cool SteamWorld Dig, except it's not exactly a sequel, it's more of a spin-off. There's also the Talos Principle, which is a very interesting sort of puzzle game. It has a fantastic story, very good writing, and great gameplay. If you're a fan of things like Portal, you absolutely must check it out. There's Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball, or just Disco Dodgeball as we like to call it. I personally reviewed the game a little while ago, and it is absolutely fantastic. It was just released from Steam Early Access, but the developer is going to continue to support it. There's Cosmoporia, an absolutely absurd game in which you are a baby cosmonaut, and you are planting seeds of life on barren planets. Finally, any trip to PAX East would not be complete without visiting Nintendo. One of their games that I've been meaning to try out, Splatoon, will be shown off at PAX East 2015. Like Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball, Splatoon is a very unusual variant on a shooter. In Splatoon, everybody is a squid, and their goal is to paint the arena a certain color. Most of the cool indie games, such as the musical puzzler Centris, will be at the Indie Mega Booth. No trip to PAX East can be complete without a trip to the Mega Booth. Regarding Centris, it's been announced that that game is coming to the PlayStation 4. At current, it's available on PC, Mac, and Linux on Steam's Early Access. I've played some Centris, and I got to do a preview for BlackmanandRobin.com. It's a very interesting musical puzzle game. You should absolutely check it out if you're looking for something different from a music game. Another really great game that's coming to the PlayStation 4 is called Epher 1. Epher 1 is a first-person adventure from White Paper Games. It's a bit like Inception or To the Moon in that you're entering the mind of a person who's suffering from dementia, and your goal is to repair broken memories. I reviewed the PC version of this game a while back for BlackmanandRobin.com. In addition to being available for Windows PC, it's also on Mac and Linux right now. It's one of the most beautiful adventures I've ever played, and I strongly recommend picking it up. Another couple of games coming to the PlayStation 4 are Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2. These are HD remasters of the original games, which came out on the PlayStation 2 a good long time ago. The release date of these games has just been announced as May 12, 2015. If you're a Wii U owner, you'll be pleased to know that this week a bevy of games came to the system. Among them is the platformer Never Alone, Kisima Ingechuna. The game was developed in conjunction with the tribe of the Inupiat people of Alaska. It's based on traditional Inupiat stories, and interspersed throughout the game are bits of documentary about life in Alaska. While it's a pretty average platformer, Never Alone definitely delivers on educational value. Additionally, it's a really neat way to gain a piece of the culture of the Inupiat people. Remember, Never Alone doesn't rip off their stories. Rather, it tells one in a way that's both respectful and entertaining. Speaking about Nintendo, a fresh teaser has been released for Affordable Space Adventures. It's a Wii U game about surviving after a crash on a hostile planet. In Affordable Space Adventures, you have this cheapo spaceship, and you have to pick up the pieces of it from this dangerous world in order to escape. The game is set to come out on April 9, 2015. Now, depending on how long you've been gaming, or on how interested you are in the history of video games, you might have at some point played an Elite game. In case you're not familiar with the franchise, the Elite game series started in 1984. It was a revolutionary space sim. In the game, you had a ship to your name and a galaxy to explore. There were asteroids to mine, bounties to hunt, piracy to, conduct, trade to do. As we all understand, no space village was ever ruined by trade. Elite really set the precedent not only for modern-day space games, such as EVE Online, which could be thought of as Elite the MMO, but other games, such as FTL Faster Than Light, the Wing Commander series, and the upcoming No Man's Sky. Well, some while back on Kickstarter, apparently the Elite series made a comeback with Elite Dangerous. The game's been out on PC for a while, and it's been announced that Elite Dangerous is coming to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. While the Mac version of Elite Dangerous is set to come out this spring, There's no word yet on when exactly the Xbox One or PlayStation 4 versions will be coming out. However, according to the game's developer, the Xbox One version will be coming out first. In other Xbox One news, a fresh trailer for Gigantic has just been released. This MOBA, which is coming to both Xbox One and Windows 10, looks pretty cute. It's a fantasy game by Motiga in which a team of 5 must protect this massive unit known as a Guardian. This gigantic beast does battle with the enemy team's Guardian. Much like the hotly anticipated Fable Legends, Gigantic will support cross-platform play between the Xbox One and Windows 10 PC. If you have the opportunity to check this game out at PAX East, you'll definitely want to do so. We have great news if you're a fan of music games. Besides the fact that we checked out Centrus this week and thought it was really cool, Harmonix has announced that the Rock Band franchise is coming back. Rock Band 4 is set to come out on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and the DLC that you purchased for Rock Band in previous iterations of the game will carry over to the new versions. This is, of course, restricted within the Xbox and PlayStation versions of the game. So if you bought Xbox 360 DLC, you're getting it in the Xbox One version. The same goes for the PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4. If you're a fan of The Sims or of SimCity, have we got some sad news for you? Unfortunately, Maxis has been shut down by Electronic Arts. The studio, which was founded in 1987 as Maxis Software by Will Wright and Jeff Braun, was responsible for a number of simulation-related games. There was SimCity, SimAnt, SimTower, SimCopter, SimEarth, SimLife, and of course, The Sims. On July 28, 1997, Electronic Arts acquired Maxis. For years, they continued making new Sims games. Unfortunately, their last couple of games, namely the last entry in the SimCity series and the last entry in the Sim series, were not particularly well received. The last SimCity, which was released in 2013, had a lot of really severe issues at launch, and the game wasn't really as dynamic as some of its predecessors. Additionally, The Sims 4, which was released in September of 2014, wasn't really as good as its predecessors either. Apparently, several of the features in the game were dumbed down, removed. It didn't really leave a good taste in the mouths of most fans. Here at Blackman and Robin, we wish the best for those affected by the closing. Going back to happier news, Frozen Byte Games has just unveiled Trine Free, The Artifacts of Power. Trine Free, The Artifacts of Power is the third game in the Trine series. In the Trine games, you play as a trio of heroes, swapping between the three in order to solve puzzles. It's expected that Trine Free will be released on various other platforms, as the developers have said that they have more information to unveil about it. However, at current, they've only revealed that it's coming to PC for sure. Going by this trailer, Trine Free thus far looks like the most gorgeous game in the franchise, and if the previous games can be trusted, the third game is going to be awesome. This week, I was pleasantly surprised by a new trailer for a game I've been following for a little while called Rain World. The Kickstarter-funded Rain World is set in an abandoned, urban, industrial environment. You play as a friendly little creature called a slug cat, although, in my opinion, it more closely resembles a stoat. But anyway, the world you live in is constantly trying to kill you. While I've not yet tried this game out, I recommend checking it out if you're at PAX East. Based on what I've heard, it's plenty of fun, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Attention Actos users. The FDA has warned about the risk of taking the type 2 diabetes drug Actos, and now the manufacturer has been ordered to pay a staggering $9 billion in punitive damages for hiding evidence that Actos causes bladder cancer. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with bladder cancer after taking Actos, Call the Rely On Group now at 800-715-9507 for a free consultation. That's 800-715-9507.